The administration is encouraging Democrats to reopen the federal government so this chaos and disruption to our air traffic control system in the United States of America stops. It is ridiculous that we have even gotten to this place and that the Democrats have continued to shut down the government with 35 days, our air traffic controllers continuing to work unpaid, every single major airline in our country coming out and begging the Democrats to please reopen the government. We're very clear. We want to reopen the government so we can resume travel in the safest and most efficient way possible, especially as we head into the busiest travel season of the month. We have Thanksgiving in a few weeks. And so Americans across the country need to make it very clear to their Democrat representatives that we want this government to be reopened so we can resume safe and efficient travel.
We are now in the 35th day of the shutdown, the longest shutdown on record and the most severe shutdown on record. Something that was totally unnecessary in the first place, obviously, but we're hoping this will be the week when the Democrats come to their senses and decide to reopen the government. The one thing I do know is as the days roll by, the consequences and pain of the shutdown grow more severe for the American people, and especially if you are a government employee or the family of a government employee who's no longer getting paid. There are more and more stories of people out there who are trying to live paycheck to paycheck. So I'm hopeful again that this is the week in which the Democrats will conclude that this is not a good thing, and while they may believe politically that it's in their best interest, and obviously we've seen lots of statements that suggest that, it's certainly not in the best interest of the American people.
President Donald Trump appears to be turning his attention to the US government shutdown stalemate after a week in Asia. 1 in 8 Americans is set to lose access to food aid this weekend after funding for programs lapsed as part of the now 31-day shutdown. President Trump places the blame solely on the Democrats, claiming he is open to talk.
The shutdown proceeds because the Democrats just don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's wrong with them. They've never done a thing like this. They've become crazed lunatics. All they have to do is say, let's go, let's open up our country, and everything snaps back into shape. Let them open up the country, and we'll meet. We'll meet very quickly.
Removing the filibuster would also remove the 60-vote quota needed to pass legislation in the US upper house. Republicans hold a 53-45 majority in the chamber.
Well, the US government shutdown is entering its 33rd day and it is starting to bite. Joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, where are you seeing it the most?
Mostly at the airports right now. In fact, it's one of the few places you are seeing it. Keep in mind, Laura, that even though a government shutdown is a big deal, if you measure it by the dollars, not the number of people involved, but the dollars, only about 15% of the government is shut down. So the large entitlement payments are going out, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, et cetera. What's not happening are things like the national parks, which affect people who are going to the parks, but it's also affecting air travel. And that's millions of people every single day. That the air traffic controllers are going to work. They're just not getting paid. They were supposed to get paid last Tuesday, and they did not. That was the first time they got a completely $0 paycheck. And some of them are simply refusing to show up for work. They're calling in sick, for example. It hasn't had a tremendous impact yet. It's been different from day to day. You might have one day with a bunch of cancellations and delays, and then the next day, not that much of an impact. But that is the place where we're really seeing it start to bite directly into ordinarily with people who don't really interact with the government. But when you get on an airplane, you do, and it simply doesn't have the level of support that it typically does.
Trump's not even talking about it, but it is starting to become an issue for him, isn't it?
Politically, both parties think they are winning. And I know as crazy as that sounds...
Which means they're probably both losing, Mick, right?
Well, either both winning or both losing. It depends on who you're trying to keep happy. If you're trying to keep happy your base, either on the far left or the far right, I think you could make the argument that both parties are winning. The Democrats are satisfying the anti-Trump wing of their party, and the Republicans are sort of satisfying the far right of their party that doesn't like the government mostly in the first place. But the huge swath of people in the middle are really upset. The bottom line, though, is that it looks like those folks in the middle blame both parties fairly evenly, and in any event, very, very few, if anybody, actually changes who they vote for based on a government shutdown. So it doesn't have the dramatic political impact that you otherwise think might happen.
Kosher, look, I think that Trump is rightly holding the line. I mean, the Democrats' demands for this shutdown have been absolutely absurd. How do you see this playing out? It's just going on and on.
Yes, the last record was 35 days in Trump's first term, and I think we're right around that now, or even surpassing it in short order. And it was definitely a stare down both times, because there's a lot of stuff that the government does that's not useful, and there's jokes going on all the time that, you know, our day-to-day life isn't any worse, so it's great, let the government shut down so that they don't interfere in our lives. But there are some aspects where it does start to hurt everyday people, like traffic control or paying troops or other people that are performing vital services not getting paid. That does start to become a problem. And so typically one side will stare down the other and hold those issues as the reason, the leverage to do so. Last time, it was President Trump who caved and in the end made concessions for whatever he was holding out for. This time it's different, because the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed before the shutdown, and that has by and large funded Trump's agenda and everything that he wants to do with deportations and the wall and tax cut permanency, etc. So it's really the other side that doesn't have leverage, the Democrats right now, and it's just a matter of who blinks. It looks like he is holding down the line since his agenda is funded, and he's got other means to provide relief for those other issues, and the Democrats are going to have to be the one to capitulate because they don't have leverage. But so far, you know, they've surprised many, I think, by holding out as long as they have. So we shall see, but I think hopefully we're getting close to the end.
Well, you certainly hope so, but yeah, I don't think that Trump is going to back down. It doesn't seem that way.